It's been a few weeks since the Apple iPhone 15 series launched, and this time, unlike previous years, instead of being a part of positive publicity, the Pro models are surrounded by negative controversies. Keep all the controversies aside. I have been using the 15 Pro Max as my daily driver for quite some time now, and yes, I did experience some heating issues, but the phone still left me impressed most of the time. Thanks to the new titanium design, the 15 Pro Max is almost 20 grams lighter than the previous Pro Max, and it refreshes the overall usage experience. And while Apple was literally forced to adopt the USBC port, the change is still quite welcoming. The overall design aesthetic of the phone remains unchanged for the straight third year, except for the new action button, which is not so useful as of now. At first glance, the design language of the 15 Pro Max looks similar to the 14 Pro Max, which is to say, looks a lot similar to the 13 Pro Max. While it's uncommon for brands to stick to the same general design, the 15 Pro Max true and tested design offers little to no scope for complaints. The all-new titanium frame gives a luxurious in-hand feel. The textured back finish looks and feels incredible, and small details, like the buttons and haptic feedback, are as exquisite as you'd expect from a $1,200 flagship phone. Another new thing the iPhone 15 Pro models got is the action button, which replaces the mute slider above the volume rockers and can be customized to perform several actions with a press and hold of the button. While Apple only added 8 preset actions to the functionality of the action button, I used the Shortcut app on my 15 Pro Max to extend its functionality beyond those preset actions. You can use multiple shortcuts with the action button to make the most out of it. I think the new action button feels more like a gimmick than actual use, and I still prefer the mute slider over it any time. As someone who prefers smaller phones and has spent the past year using an iPhone 12 Pro, the jump to the 15 Pro Max initially seemed quite intimidating. But all thanks to the titanium frame, the 15 Pro Max is much more comfortable to hold in the hand than the 14 Pro Max. Also, many drop test videos have revealed that the 15 Pro Max glass panels, especially the back one, break far easier than on the previous model. In fact, one drop from a short distance can destroy the back immediately. So I guess I would want Apple to retrospect if the decision to go with the titanium was right. On the positive side, the 15 Pro Max teardowns have revealed that it is easier to repair than the 14 Pro Max. But then again, with every component requiring Apple's digital signature to work properly, this is pointless. After living with this phone for over 2 weeks as my go-to handset, it wouldn't be wrong to say that the transition hasn't been nearly as difficult as I thought. Yes, the device is still a large and heavy smartphone. For some people, it'll always be too big to use comfortably, but I'm at a point where I'm used to its weight and have found ways to maneuver it with one hand. This is one of the reasons many people would be attracted to the device, even after knowing its hefty price. And one thing I like the most about the device display is that it has even narrower bezels than the 14 Pro Max, and the bezels are symmetrical overall. iPhone delivers a fast and smooth performance consistently well, except for the camera performance, as I did experience overheating issues on the 15 Pro Max every time I used the camera app for an extended period. The device easily crosses the 40 degrees Celsius mark every time I use it to record 4K 60 frames per second videos in a mere 5 minutes of recording. Also, I would highly recommend not using the camera in direct sunlight, as the device becomes really hot and even gives the popular "iPhone needs to cool down" warning message. I have been using the device for over 2 weeks as my daily driver, and other than the heating issues with the camera app, the device performed exceptionally well and seamlessly without any sign of thermal throttling. To test out the S17 Pro's gaming capability, I threw the most demanding games available currently at max settings, which proved to be no problem with smooth, consistent frame rates the whole time to my eye. I also play Asphalt 9, which Apple says is one of the apps causing the popular overheating issue, at the maximum possible graphics settings, and as expected, the game worked great and didn't even experience any heating issues, unlike others. Yes, the device gets a little warm during intense gaming sessions, but to call it an overheating issue would be exaggerated, as the gaming performance never deteriorates and the phone did not feel uncomfortable to hold. The device showed commendable resilience during our usual benchmarking tests, with little to no complications, and the benchmark scores clearly demonstrate the phone's ability to withstand any demanding usage. Yes, the device did overheat when I ran back-to-back benchmarks on it, but that is okay, as every phone would do the same in that particular scenario. I know comparing the iPhone benchmarks with Androids is something of an apples to oranges comparison. However, it still can provide us with the knowledge of how well the 15 Pro Max performs against its peers and predecessor. Starting with the Geekbench 6 test to calculate the phone's CPU power, the device notched up to 2897 on the single-core test and 7154 on the multi-core test. that easily trounces the scores of its biggest competitor, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra at 2050 and 5404 for single-core and multi-core scores respectively, and the iPhone 14 Pro at 2696 and 6692. Another great thing Apple has added to the cameras of the device is that now the cameras automatically capture depth information in every captured shot, allowing you to edit the background blur later in the Photos app, so you won't have to shift to the portrait mode just to add bokeh in your shots. All this is done with the help of Photonic Engine. This new camera feature is pretty impressive for someone like me who heavily relies on portrait mode for most of my photos of food, animals, and people. In clear daylight conditions, the device captures bright and clear photos with plenty of details and warmth. The captured photos have a sharp focus, accurate white balance, and colors across the board. The tonal highlights and shadow detail are pleasing as well. The camera produces accurate color with all three ultra-wide main or telephoto lenses. The night mode is where the device camera takes a leap and clearly takes a win over the Galaxy S23 Ultra. The 15 Pro Max camera handles the lights much better than the S23 Ultra, while maintaining details and picture quality. For the first time, Apple has replaced its beloved Lightning port with a much more common USB-C port, thanks to the EU legislation, to charge the iPhone, which many iPhone users like me have been anticipating for a long time. Guess it's better to be late than never. While Apple finally did something we wanted, the tech giant still kept the tradition of not disclosing the battery capacity of its iPhones. I was assuming that the 15 Pro Max battery would be bigger than what is found on the 14 Pro Max, and guess what? I was right, but the difference between the battery capacity of both devices is not even considerable. With the newest 17 Pro chipset, battery efficiency has improved, it seems. During my testing, I was easily able to get almost 12 hours of screen-on time with intense to moderate usage combined, including social media scrolling, most of the time Instagram Reels, streaming videos on YouTube and Netflix, gaming, and some photography. Based on my observation, the device can easily last 2 days, even with heavy usage, as no one would use their phone for 12 straight hours a day. There is no question that 2023 is an interesting year for Apple's iPhone 15 Pro Max model. With the new action button, USB-C port, considerable camera upgrades, and a 17 Pro chipset, there's a lot to sink into with the device. Also, the all-new titanium frame makes the device look refreshed, and the new Apple S17 Pro chipset, along with the second-gen ultra-wideband chip, makes the day-to-day operations a lot smoother than ever. While all these new features on their own may not feel too much to some users, when combined together, all these features make the device a pro phone. With rumors of iPhone Ultra looming, the device 15 Pro Max is quite close to being the Ultra iPhone. Apple's vision of offering the perfect iPhone is on its track, and the improvements that are being offered this year are not entirely groundbreaking, but a stopgap towards the end goal. Yes, the non-Pro models this year are also worth considering, as they also have a new 48 megapixels camera, dynamic island, USB-C port, and pretty colors, making them a compelling, lower-cost alternative to the device. But if you have always been a Pro user and want faster data transfer speed, an excellent set of cameras, and much more, the 15 Pro Max is something that will certainly satisfy you. So what are your thoughts on the latest iPhone 15 lineup? Share your experience below if you already get yours, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you for the next time. Peace out.